my name is Kristen Mueller, and I'm the Chief Corporate Dietitian for Nutri-Serve Food Management. Welcome to my presentation on mobile ordering using Google Forms. Today, you will see 3 different options for online ordering that can be used for delivery to a classroom. Option 1 is for students to actually place their orders through some kind of mobile device, which could be a cell phone, an iPad, a computer. Any of that would work, and this would be great for grades 1 to 12, but preferably it's really best for your older students. Option 2 is for teachers to actually place lunch counts for their class, meaning that they would type in a numeric number of how many items they need of each menu entree. They would also fill out how many milks that they need, and then that would be reported directly to the cafeteria. And they would use a roster type system to record when students actually receive their meals. This would work for all grade levels. Option 3 is actually a little bit of a combination of option 2 and then an additional aspect of a roster to option 3. So it's a digital roster that can be accessed by the teacher and food service. So the food service can actually get the lunch counts, so what's needed of each menu, entree, and milk, and then the teacher can go in and actually record the meals being served. So this would serve as both an order form and a roster, which kind of would save an extra step there for both your teachers and food service, and it would work really well for all grade levels. So this presentation will actually show you the 3 different options that can be modified to meet the operational needs of your district. During this presentation, I will show you how to customize the template, get your responses, and for the student order form, I will actually show you how to generate individual labels to put on prepackaged menu items. The benefit of using Google Forms and shared documents for collecting orders as to comparably, let's say, an outside mobile ordering service is that, number 1, it is free. Plus, many districts are already using Google Drive to share documents with teachers, so everyone is somewhat familiar with this. Number 2, your system can be shared with Olivia, myself, and your IT department, so you have all these extra resources of people to jump in and help you should you need it. Reason 3, so this template is really not a one-size-fit-all approach, which some mobile ordering systems would be. You would kind of need to change your operation to fit within the confines of that actual mobile ordering system. You're actually starting with my template and you are customizing it. So you can add questions, you can delete questions, you can even change it up as you go along if you find something is operationally not working within your district. So let's get started with my presentation on mobile ordering. Hey there, and welcome to my presentation on using Google Forms to create a mobile order form for your school district. So the first mobile order form that we're going to look at is for a situation where you have students actually placing the orders themselves. So this could be done first thing in the morning, right from their classroom. And they could basically place this order from any kind of device like a computer, a cell phone, or an iPad. So let's take a look at how this would all work. So basically, I'm going to have a template set up for you, and you're just going to kind of customize the template for your district. So it's not going to be super difficult. And in order to get access to this template, I'm just going to need to know your school email, and hopefully it is a Gmail. If you do not have a school email that is a Gmail, we're going to take a different approach where I actually set one up for you, and I'll create the template within that account for you. So let's get started. So assuming that you have a school email, the first thing that you'll want to do is actually just go into your school email, open it up. It probably is a Gmail looking screen just like this. Then you will want to go to the Rubik's Cube in the right-hand corner of your screen. That will open a drop-down menu where you will see Google Drive. So once you have requested from me that you want to do mobile ordering and you want access to the form, I'm going to share a copy of that template with you, and it's going to appear in your account. So again, first step is contacting me and telling me that you want to do this, and then Olivia and I will help set this up for you. So I'm clicking Google Drive, assuming that Olivia or Kristen has already granted you access. And basically there would be a folder in your account that has your 3-letter school code. So for my sample one, I can see that there's an ABC order, and that's where you're going to have your access to the forms. All right, so I see I have 3 options for forms here. So the first one that I'm going to look at is this cafe to class order form. This is the one that you're going to use for students placing orders from the classroom. So to open this up, you just want to double click on it. So what you're actually looking at now is the editable version of this form. So this is where you're going to make all of your changes. So we can see at the top here that we are on the questions tab. And I would say that this works really good for grades like 1 to 12. It is very simple. It is very picture based, and that's kind of who it would be applicable to at this point. So first thing you want to do is add the people that you want to have access to editing this form. That's the key, that you want access to editing. So I would recommend that you grant access to editing. I will automatically be on there. Olivia will automatically be on there so that we can both help you. The other person that I would add is your IT person for your school district as another person who could go in here and help you if something's going wrong or you have any questions. So to add a collaborator, I hit that drop down button at the top right, and I click on Add Collaborators. Okay, and then you're just going to type in the email of those people. So you can see right now it is shared with me. Olivia and I both have access to this email, so we would automatically have access to this form. So, and once we have shared it to you, you would see your email down here as well. So I want to add the IT person. Basically, you just type in that person's email, press done, and that would appear. Another person that you might want to share it with in your district, if you have a manager with a school email who you want access, you can add that person here as well. So add those people, hit done, and then they have access to edit this form as well as you, and they can also get responses. So let's take a look. So you can see that you need to customize a couple of things at the top here. So first you want to fill in your lunch prices. You then want to fill in all of your snack prices if you want to choose to offer a couple of snacks for a classroom delivery type situation. I've included some simple options that I thought could kind of just be wrapped or placed directly into your grab and go container. But these are options that you could change up, or you could delete the snack option entirely. I have a little section on how it works. So it says that each day there are 4 options for you to choose from. If you decide that you do not want to offer that many options, that is completely fine. Right here, if you just click, the whole thing highlights. You want to click again so you don't delete everything. And then you can kind of just like backspace here and type in whatever you want. So that's how this entire section works. You're clicking, backspacing, and typing in your price, whatever that may be. So if I decide that I do not want to offer a sandwich or salad, I can just highlight that and press delete. Maybe change up my numbers here and edit this section. You are only changing this once, and then you are done doing this for the entirety of this process. So if I accidentally feel like I deleted something that I still wanted, undo does work as a feature in this program. So you can do Control-Z on your laptop or desktop computer. And there is also an undo button in that drop down where you had added collaborators previously. So 2 options for undoing. The last thing that you'll want to fill in here is your contact information so that everyone has that as well. All right, so once you are done with that, you are done with the top section. So now I'm going to scroll down and I see that there is a picture of the menu. So this is just the publisher menu. And what you'll want to do is just get access to our publisher menu, edit it, customize it. If you're not going to serve this many menu items, delete this off. There's a section at the top here. It says the 3 daily specials and 1 daily alternate. You'd obviously want to change that to exactly what you are offering. If you don't use the school payment portal as your online payment location, you can change that as well. So you just edit that publisher menu as you normally would. And once you are done with that, I'm going to show you how to upload it on here. So we've got this sample one here. If I want to change it, there's a button right here. Once I click off that menu, I can see that appears, and then I can hit that change button to change that menu. So in order to upload a menu, what we're allowed to upload into Google Forms has to be a picture file. So I basically have to take my menu PDF. So once I've completed my publisher menu, and I'm going to create it into a picture file. So watch closely. The way I'm going to do this is I'm going to go to edit at the top left. I'm going to take a snapshot. So I'm basically going to just drag my mouse over top with the left side of the mouse clicked. And I'm going to grab a quick snapshot of my menu because I want to make it a picture and not a PDF. Once I let go, it flashes. That means that I took a picture of it. If I just go to Publisher right here, right click and press Paste, my menu now appears as a picture file, which is what I want. So in order to upload this to Google Drive, I'm just going to save a copy of it. If you want to kind of keep all your mobile ordering stuff in a consistent place, you can always find it. I have a mobile ordering folder on my desktop. I can even have a folder of menu picks and save this as my September 2020 menu pick. Save. Now I have a picture of my menu. So if I now go back to my order form, I can click those three little dots in the left-hand corner of my menu picture, and I'm going to change this to a different menu. So each month you would change out your menu. And if you're struggling with any of this, you can always contact Olivia and I, or email us your publisher menu and we can do this for you. So hit that change button, I'm going to hit browse, and I'm going to go where I'd actually saved that menu picture. I saved it on my desktop in a mobile orders folder. I go to menu picks, here it is, double click, and it inserts right into my Google form. So now I have an updated picture of my menu. All right, so next step, I'm going to look at the options that I'm going to offer. So it says select your lunch. So these are the options that the student would be choosing from. So for here, I have a hot featured entree, I have a sandwich or salad, I have a craveable, and I have a cereal bar lunch. If I decide that I am not going to offer my sandwich and salad, and I changed my menu to reflect that I am not going to offer a sandwich and salad, I can make my edits by just clicking once on this question. And I can see at the top here, I can change this question to say whatever it is that I want it to say. So that is how customizable this Google Forms is. I literally just made you a template here. Nothing is locked, and we can make it work operationally for you. So if I'm not going to have the sandwich or salad, I can press this X button right here, and it removes that as an option entirely. I just hit that undo button to bring it back, which is always an option too if you want to undo something. If you want to change it, you are only going to offer a sandwich. I can do that. And then if I want to change my picture here, I can always hit that X button. That removes that picture. And then you see how this icon comes up when I kind of hover over that sandwich option. I can choose to add a sandwich here. So if I have any kind of sandwich photo saved within my computer, I can now upload that instead. So I've got a deli sandwich right here. I'm going to put that in instead. Perfect. So now I've changed my picture. In terms of pictures, you can look on Google for specific pictures. If you're having trouble with this, again, reach out to Olivia or I, and we will change this for you. So for the purpose of this, I'm going to go back to what it initially was by using the undo button. So that is how you kind of change a question. If you want to add another option, you can hit that add option button at the bottom. So you would then type in what your next option is, and then you can add a picture using the picture tool as we did before. You can see here that I made this a required question. So I made it required by pressing that toggle button right there, which means that the student could not submit an order without actually choosing an option on this question. So some you're going to want require an answer for, and some you're not really going to care if they don't pick something. Other features here that I can show you. So right here we have a description. So you're welcome to use that. I wrote for this one that all meals come with the menued fruit and veggie of the day. So again, the first time you click on it, the whole thing is going to highlight. So it's going to delete once you start typing into it. If you don't want that to happen, just make sure you click on it and maybe hit the arrow on your keyboard so that you can use the backspace tool and only delete what you actually want to delete. So, okay, we took a look at that question. If I ever want to add a question, this toolbar comes up on the side for me, and I can choose to add a question right below this question by hitting that plus sign right there to add a question. And then I can put in my different specifics. So let's do that. So I hit the add question button. So if there's another piece of data that I want to collect, that is the way that I would add a question. Once I write my question, I can choose how I want that answer to come through. Do I want it to be a short answer? Do I want it to be a paragraph? Multiple choice? Do I want checkboxes? That means that they can select multiple answers. Do I want it to be a drop down? For a drop down, they can select one answer, but it doesn't take up quite as much space as your multiple choice option. So those are the main tools that we would be using in Google Forms for this specific order form. So I don't need this, so I am going to delete it. So you can see there's a delete button there. There is also a duplicate button. That means that you can copy an entire question. So if you have like a question that you want to add that's very similar to another question, that would be a tool that you can use. All right, so I scroll down to my next question. So I have our students selecting their milk. So the options that I put here are white, non-fat chocolate, and non-fat strawberry. If I am only going to offer white and chocolate, I can delete strawberry right off like that. So easy enough. I will add it back for the purpose of this presentation using the undo tool. So you can see that milk, I did not make a required question. The reasoning behind that is that milk is not a required food group, so a student does not have to select a milk. So that is why I left that toggle off in that case, okay? Next thing we have here is a snack option. And in my description here, I did write some guidance that snacks are not included with the lunch unless it is a special promotion, and that you should make sure you have permission to order snack from your parent or guardian. So just another extra layer of information there so the students don't think they can pick a snack and not incur an extra cost. So my options here, I put the 2 cookies, a soft pretzel, and Doritos. So if I want to offer something different or eliminate one of these, again, I can hit that X button to remove that option entirely. I can click the X on the picture to remove the picture and change it up. I can add an option at the bottom. So that's kind of the tools that you would be using here. If you don't want to offer snacks at all, you can always hit that delete button right here to remove the entire question. All right, so we got that first section of our form filled out. Now let's look at the next section. So this is where the student plugs in some of their personal information. So first we have their name, and I'm telling them that I would like their full name. Since it has the red asterisk here, that means that it is a required question. The student must fill it out to submit the form. PIN, so then I ask for them to type in their PIN. That is a short answer text question, so they can literally just type their PIN in here. One neat feature with this is that there is a response validation tool. So if your PIN is a certain number of numbers, so say that it is a 5 number, so then you can do that it is equal to 5, and then have an error text if they make a mistake. So just a extra validation tool within that question. Next, you would plug in your schools. So Here you can see school 1, so I would just click on that and type the name of my school. So maybe it is Stoy School. So once I fill that in, I am done with that. And then you can see that we have these middle school and elementary pictures. So you can also upload a picture in there. You can customize it for your district. If they have like a school mascot, you could always upload the mascot for that school. You could upload an actual picture of that school. You could not have a picture. So lots of options there, but you would plug in your different school names as options for the student to pick. I scroll down even further, so we see we're going to add all of our schools. If you have more than 4 schools, you can always hit that add option button and type in those additional names. So, and again, if you need any help with customizing this form, just reach out to Olivia and I, and we can literally jump in here and make those changes for you. Okay, the next thing you're going to want to do is you want to have all the grades listed for your school district on here. So that's whatever your school district in its entirety is, whatever the grade levels range from. So make sure you have them plugged in on this form. If there are more that you need to add, you can add an option at the bottom. So then you want to go to your teachers. So you want to actually list out all of your teachers for each grade level. So for here, I would type in Mrs. Smith. So just list out all of my first grade teachers, Mr. Brown, Mrs. White. And again, once you do this once, you are totally done with it. Another nice feature that you might be able to work with your IT on, just to make this order form a little easier for the students to fill out. If your IT person has access to the school pictures of all these teachers, you can actually upload their picture so that the kids wouldn't even have to read the name of the teacher. They could literally just click on the face of their teacher. So in order to do that, all you would do is I would have Mrs. Smith as one of my answers. I would click on that add image button for Mrs. Smith. I click browse for my photos. And if I had those photos somewhere on my computer, which you might not, but this is something that your IT person might have, which is why it's good to share this form with him. I would go to wherever I have those pictures saved, and maybe Mrs. Smith, and then I can add her right to the form. So that's how we can make this super easy for some of our younger kids to fill out. So I would just go teacher by teacher, and I can add each of their pictures. So once I have filled out first grade, I can go and fill out all my second grade teachers, third grade teachers, fourth grade teachers, and so on and so forth. So as I scroll down the form, I can see all of my options for filling out teachers. And then the last thing that I have in my form is this don't forget to hit submit button. I also have a little comment area. So if the student wants to write in that they have a food allergy or something like that, they can indicate that right there. And you can see this is not a required question. So, and then that is pretty much everything that you have to do to customize your form. So now I'm going to show you how you actually get your orders. So when we looked at the top here, we saw 2 options. We saw questions and we saw responses. So now we are going to look at the responses tab. So I can see right now, this gives me a neat little summary of responses. So this is going to be every order that is ever placed. So if you want to kind of track over time what your most popular items have been that have been ordered, you can kind of do that here. You can look at what menu choices the students have been making over the entire period that you've been using this mobile order form. You can look at what milks they were selecting. And you can see who ordered, their pins, what school they were ordering from. So just some neat like summary information on this tab. But to get your actual individual responses, you would actually click that green tab or green spreadsheet button right there. But before we even get into that, I do want to show you this accepting responses toggle. So basically, if I want to turn off this form, so maybe I want to make it a rule in my district that all the students have to have their orders in by 9 a.m. So what you can do is once you hit that 9 a.m. Deadline, you can turn that form off for a couple hours so that they can't submit any more responses. But then you just want to remember to turn it back on so that they can order the next morning. So that's important. So if I turn my response form off, a message comes up for respondents if they try to access this form. And you can customize that message in any way. So the default is that it would say this form is no longer accepting responses. You can make it say, sorry, you are too late to order today. Call the cafeteria with any questions. Something like that. You can put your phone number there, whatever you want those responders, so the students to see if they're too late with placing an order for a meal that day. So great tool right there. Turn it back on, remember, after a couple hours so they can order for the next day. And once again, once you turn it off the next day, that same message will appear for any of the students trying to access the form. So neat tool there. So now I want to look at my actual responses. So I can see that I have 4 orders there, and they are all appearing on the spreadsheet. So what you are looking at here is a virtual spreadsheet. So basically, if you have this open sitting on your computer, all of the orders will pop in automatically, which is pretty cool. So they will literally, once a student places it, you don't have to refresh, they pop up right in front of your eyes. So you can see that there's different options for ordering this spreadsheet. Just like in Excel, you can change it if you want to sort the sheet from A to Z. So have all your white and chocolate milk together. If you want to sort it by lunch type. If you want to sort it by school, maybe that would make the most sense. So you can organize this in kind of whatever makes the most sense for you. So yes, this is all of our responses. So once all of your responses come in for the day, you probably want to save a copy of these so you have a record of all of the orders that were placed for this individual day. So the way that you would do that is go to File, Download, and Microsoft Excel. So you're downloading this as a spreadsheet that is not shared with anyone, that is not live, just a normal Excel spreadsheet. And we can see that it downloads right here at the bottom left-hand corner. And as it's downloading, I'm going to show you one other nice little tip. So if let's say that I have a manager in another school district that I would like access to access my responses, I would hit this share button right here, and I can add that person in. So let's say I want Olivia to have access. I can type in her email, hit send, and then she would be able to access this response spreadsheet as well. So whoever you want to have access and edit, that is who you want to share it with. Once I'm done, you just hit done. All right, so let's open up our Excel spreadsheet. So we can see that this is your typical Excel spreadsheet here. It has all of the responses for the day. So once you're done with all of your orders for today, so let's say today is July 22nd, I'm going to go to the File, Save As button, and I'm going to name this the actual date so that I know what orders were placed on this specific day. I'm going to save that and just make sure you kind of save it in a place where you'll be able to find it again. So I'll show you an exact example. I'm going to save it to my desktop in that mobile orders folder I created. And let's say I have a subfolder in here for September 2020. So in this case, it is July 2020. Put it in there, and I'm going to save my orders for July 22nd right in that folder. So I always have a record of what was ordered on that specific day. So that is how you get your orders. One important key. So this is going to be like your live spreadsheet that we're looking at here. It's one of your tabs at the top of this browser. This is where your responses are going to come in each day. So what I would recommend so that you don't get overwhelmed with having like so many responses for each day, and we already saved a copy of the responses for July 22nd, would be to go in here and delete out the responses for that day, and then you'll allow for your new responses to come in. So the way we're going to do that is just highlight these rows. I'm going to right click and I'm going to delete rows 2 through 5. So that is going to actually delete those orders for that day. So that is that. And then the last thing I want to show you is kind of what that form would look like for your parents. So what Livy and I would set up for you is a link to the form on your Nutri-Serve site. So you'd see this Cafe to Class logo. And then right here, the parents can actually fill in the order, or the students can actually fill in the order form themselves. Sorry, I meant to say students there. So they click on that, they click on their milk. If they want a snack, next. They fill in their name, PIN, click their school, click their grade, and then they select who their second grade teacher is, if they have any other comments, and then they hit submit. So that's basically what ordering looks like for the actual student. So at this point, we have concluded the first video on mobile ordering using Google Forms for students for a delivery to the classroom type experience. So tune in for the next video, which will show you how to collect lunch counts using Google Forms. And then I will also have a virtual roster demo video. So 3 different options to make mobile ordering meals possible for classroom delivery. Hi all, so in my first video, I had showed you how to modify a student order form in using Google Forms. So that was the order form where the students would actually place the order from their classrooms most likely, and you would deliver that food directly to the classrooms. So in this scenario where each student would be plugging in their name, grade, school, what they would like to eat, it would probably be helpful to generate actual labels from that information so that you could label each individual grab and go for delivery to the classroom. So you won't actually have to type up every individual label itself. I'm going to show you a quick way to generate labels from an Excel spreadsheet that has all of your orders. So right now we're looking at the order form. I'm going to run through once again how to get your orders for the day, and then I will show you how to export them to labels. So first thing I'm going to click on here. So I'm going to want my responses, which would be your orders. I'm going to click on that responses little green chart right here to grab my Excel spreadsheet with all of my orders for the day. So I can see all of my orders, and let's say that these are all my orders for today. You can see the date that they came in. It's the 22nd. So we're going to say it's the 22nd. And I'm going to now take them from my live sheet where all of my orders can come in and save it as an actual Excel spreadsheet. So I'm going to go to this download button, Microsoft Excel. And I can see that my orders now for the day download at the bottom. So I'm going to open that up. It'll open up once it's completely loaded. You can enable editing. Now I have my orders, so I'm just going to save them to my computer. So when you go to save as, you want to save it in a spot where you'll absolutely be able to find it again, since this is something that as a food service director you would be using on a regular basis. I think that saving it to your desktop would be a good spot in this case. So that is what I did. So I'm going to hit that browse button. I'm going to go to my desktop. You can set up an order or a folder, maybe title it something like mobile orders. And then if organize all your mobile orders for a specific month so that you keep all the month's orders together, that would probably be a good organization method. So I'll save it in my July folder. Say that these are all for July 22nd. You can write that in right there. Hit enter or save, and now you have your orders for the day saved. You can now close out of that. And now I'm going to show you how to export those orders to labels. So if we open up Microsoft Word, pick a new blank document, you are then going to go to mail merge. So what we are going to do, or go to mailings, we are actually going to do a mail merge, which is a great way, even if you need like address labels for something, people will have that all in Excel spreadsheet, and then they will actually generate it to labels in this way. So the first thing I want to do is select the Start Mail Merge button and choose Labels, because I want to generate labels. I can see right now that it's loading, and then it gives you all kinds of options for the types of labels that you want to use. So a common number to remember, the 5160 Avery label is actually that 30 per page label. That is like your common mailing address label size. So you'd be able to fit 30 orders on that one sheet of paper. So as long as that's clicked, just hit OK. All right, and then the next thing that I want you to do is select your recipients. So in this case, our recipients would be all of our orders for the day. So we want to use an existing list. We will go to our desktop, go to that folder that we set up, mobile orders, go to July. I'm going to click the one that I did for today. Open that up, just press OK. All right, and now we are ready with our labels. So what you will do next, you can kind of like format these labels a little bit. So maybe I would want some of my details to be centered on the label. So I can just go to that centered button, then go back to mailings. And then I'd want to insert whatever data I want to appear on these labels. So you know all the data that you were collecting on your form. Maybe there's certain things like you wouldn't need. Like for example, maybe for the labels to label the individual meals, you wouldn't care about the PIN being on that. Maybe the PIN is just something that you want the cashier to have through the spreadsheet, but you don't need that data on the actual label. So the nice thing is that you can pick and choose what data you actually want to appear on that label. So the first thing that I want to appear is probably the student's name. I would want their grade. You can actually put a space in between these items too. So I'll do that one more time so that they're not like running into each other, like name and grade right next to each other. So just by putting a space, you will stop that from happening. Grade, space, school. Okay, so maybe that's what I want on line 1. So just like regular functionality in Microsoft Word, it adds like a little bit of extra space in between lines. If I want to put a good amount of data on there, maybe I don't want that space between lines. So I can take that away by just highlighting that, going to the home button, going to paragraph, and making that spacing between lines. So single is good, 0 after, and then I would also want 0 before. Press OK, and now you can see that there's no extra space between my lines. So that's a good little trick when you're working in any of the Microsoft programs. You can always change up the spacing between your lines. So back to mailings, and now I'm going to insert my next field. I would probably at this point, so I have their name, their grade, their school on line 1. Then I would probably want to know what their lunch is. Space. I would also want to know what their milk is right there. Space. And then I'd probably also want to know if they are getting a snack. So I'll put that all right on that line. And I can look at here, is there any other fields that I want to put? Okay. I probably also want their teacher name here. So next one, I'm going to put that on the next line. So in this case, when it comes to the teacher, they were just selecting like what grade they were in, and then like what teacher. So you'd have to put all the different teacher options on here, and then it would only fill out what teacher choice that student actually made. So I'm going to put each teacher, field in here. So that would fill in if it had been filled in by the student. So I'm at 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade, okay? And the last thing, I'll just throw those comments at the bottom. Like if let's say they said something like they were allergic to whatever, that would be on the label as well. And then I think we have everything covered here. So next step, I would want to update my label so that every single label looks the same. So you see, once I do that, I have all my fields ready to go. Now I can actually preview my results. So I had 5 orders on there. All the details came in. So at this point, if you want those labels to look any different, if you want certain things bolded, certain things italicized, things different colors, you can also do that on your template. So if maybe I want the top 3 items bold, if I want the meal stuff italicized, I can do something like that. I can also make the meals a color. So any of those are options. Then I just go back to mailings. I update my labels so that they all match. And then I can preview my results. So, and I mean, anything kind of works here. Even if I want to put like a little like dash in there, we can see what that looks like. Update my labels, preview results. That might look a little more organized to me. So there's lots of options here. And you can see that for each label, it really only filled out the data that I needed. So nice thing with this, once you have your template set up, just make sure that you save a copy of it. And then you just have to export that new spreadsheet in every single time. So if I go to save as, I can go to browse, maybe save it in that desktop folder. Mobile ordering, my label template. Save. And now I have a copy of this, and then all I'll have to do next time I go into mail merge and I have my new set of orders, I would just go into edit recipient list, or I would go to select recipients and use an existing list, and then select my new data source. So go back to desktop, go to your mobile orders folder, go to your orders, and select my new set. Nice, preview results. So that's it. I had 4 different orders in there. So you can see that you can change your source of information, which in our case would be the orders for the specific day. So once again, it's not that complicated because you only set up this template once and then you just import your orders for that day. So very neat, quick way to generate orders. Then all you have to do is buy that Avery 5160 label, run it through your printer, press that print button, and your labels would print. Even if it's a situation where you want to set this up for a manager in another district, you can generate the orders and then email this over to the manager to print at that district. So lots of operational options for this, which is nice. So that is the conclusion of my how to generate labels from your Excel spreadsheet of orders. And now we will move on to the next video. Hi there, welcome to my 3rd video for mobile ordering. So the order form option that we will be looking at for this presentation is an order form that the teachers could actually fill out themselves from their classroom with the counts that they need for their actual classroom. So the advantages to this would be that number 1, you wouldn't have to have the students fill out the forms. It would be super fast for the teachers. They're just plugging in total counts. The disadvantages would be that the teacher would not have a list of like what each student got. So they would kind of have to keep track of that themselves. They would really just be putting the counts within this. You would also need to have some kind of roster system set up with this where you would need to like fill out that lunches were received. So hopefully the teacher could fill out what each student got, maybe on a roster type form. So this would really just be used for reporting how many meals need to come to that classroom, how many milks need to come for food service. So let's take a look at it. Oh, and the other advantage is if your school email is not Google-based, this would be a workaround. So you can still do this even if your school email is not Google-based. So we're going to open up this form. It is the one with Dear Teacher at the top. So this is the edible version of the form. So just like the student form that we had customized, you can fill in any of your information here. So you fill in all your prices. Depending on how many options you are offering, you can change up this top part right here. So again, the way that you change it up is just clicking on it. Just remember that everything highlights the first time you click. So you would need to click again, and then you can backspace and change it in whatever way you want. And you can add any other additional information here that would make sense for your operation. So we give them an example of how to fill this out. Remind them that milk is not required with the school lunch, but an option. And then you can actually check out the menu for that month right here. And don't forget to plug in your contact information. So we scroll down, we have the picture of the menu. And in the first video, I showed you how to swap out menus. So at the end of the month, you need to swap in your menu for the next month. We see that the first question is the featured entree meals question. So if you are not doing one of these menu items, you can always delete this question. So again, you would just hit that trash can right there to delete it. And remember, if you accidentally delete something that you did want, you can always hit Control-Z on your keyboard or go up top here and hit undo. The undo button does work in this case. You can see here on these menu items that I also tagged the required toggle right here, making it a required question. And I asked the teacher to plug in 0 if they need 0. That way we're sure that they didn't accidentally just skip one of the options, and we know that they need 0. So they can't submit this until all of the meal options are filled out. So you can see we have Cravables on here, the cereal bar meals. Then we get down to our milk section. So they fill in how many white milks they need for their class. So again, it's not required with the meal. A student could say, I don't want milk, and that is acceptable. How many chocolate milks? How many strawberry milks? If you're only going to offer white and chocolate, you can always click on the strawberry milk question and hit that delete button at the bottom. Then we move on to the data that you want to collect on your individual classrooms. So we ask the teacher to fill in their name. The teacher selects what school that they're at. The teacher selects what grade that classroom is, plugs in the room number, and then any other comments. So it's a pretty basic form for this one. Same setup with your responses being right here. You can turn off those responses and maybe write that after a certain time you want the teacher to contact the cafeteria because you're not checking the form anymore. And so for this form, I'm not actually having the teacher fill in what the date is, because the date automatically fills in when a response is made. So if your system is that in the morning, the teacher takes his or her counts and submits them, the date that comes through on the form will be today's date, so that you will know that. So if we go to the Sheets button right here to look at our orders, we can see that there were 3 orders placed. We can see that it was for the teachers Smith, White, and Brown. We can see what school that they're at. So all the details are here. At the end of the day, you've probably, or if you want to actually print this so that you have a record of this in the cafeteria, you can download this as a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. When I open that up, I now have a spreadsheet document of all of my orders for the day. And I would recommend, just like the system with the last order form that we looked at, saving your responses and dating them. So I can see today is the 24th. I'm going to save them in a place that I can find them again. So maybe I have a mobile ordering folder set up on my desktop, and I hit that save button. Now I have my responses saved for the day. What you want to do at the end of the day, once you have saved your responses and have a record for that day of what your online orders were, you would just want to clear out this live order form where all of your orders would come in, because if you left these in here, there would be orders for the entire school year, so it would get a little out of control. So to delete the orders for the day, after I've saved my copy, I just highlight the 3 rows, right click, and hit delete rows 2 to 4. And there we go. So I'm going to undo that. So that is how we would do that. If let's say that you have a manager in another account that you want to have access to these orders that come through, you can hit that share button and type in the school email of that manager in another kitchen in your school district. And again, with our first order form here, that share button does exist by adding collaborators. And so you can see it's automatically shared with me. You would see your own school district name on this, and then you could share it with like your IT person if you wanted them to have access, so they'd be able to help you. This could also be shared with a manager in one of your other kitchens if you wanted that person to have access. So there is different options through that share button. All right, so this form is pretty straightforward. Again, the first one that we looked at was for students ordering from their classrooms using some kind of mobile device. This would be for the teachers just supplying counts. And both of these systems, 1 and 2, would require a roster to actually record that the meal was received by the student. Hi all, so my last video here is going to be an ordering option that also serves as a digital roster. So it kind of does 2 steps in one, which is pretty neat. The only catch is that for this system, your school district would have to use Google Drive, so like a Google-based email system. So we kind of manage this out of your school email, and all of the teachers, each roster would be shared with them, and they would be able to access it in that way. So that's key for this one, that the school district has to use Google Drive in order to be able to access the roster to use the system. So the way that I would set this up is you'd want an actual roster for each individual teacher in your school district. So there would be a little bit of work in setting this up, but I also made this roster for the entire school year for you. So it's pretty much ready to go. You just have to have a copy for each teacher. So the way I would probably go about organizing this so that you can easily find the counts for the teacher that you are looking for in the school district is I would first set up a folder per school. So we'll kind of have like all different folders that drill down and organize these rosters. So in order to insert a folder, you're going to hit the new button in the left-hand corner and then click on folder. And it asks you to name that folder. So I would probably name that folder for the school, School 1, and hit create. I now have a folder for School 1. So that would say the name of your first school. Then insert a folder for your next school, School 2. So you'd want an individual folder for each of your schools. The next thing that you would want, you'd probably want an individual folder for each grade, and then you would have the rosters for each teacher that teaches that grade at that school in that folder. So in School 1, I'm going to set up a folder for pre-K, create, folder, kindergarten, create, next folder, first grade, create, and so on and so forth. So whatever grade levels are in School 1, I'm going to want a folder for each individual grade. So that's how we're going to start this. Going back to my main group of folders here. So I have School 1 and School 2. I have my 3 folders in there for School 1. So this is my roster right here. So you're going to want an individual copy of this roster for each of your teachers. So the way that you copy this roster is you would right click and go to make a copy. And that automatically copies right here. So you can then take that copy, and in order to put it in a folder, you can drag it right into School 1. Now when I open up School 1, I have that roster right here. I can then drag it into Pre-K and then rename it. So to rename, I right click and hit rename. And this will be a roster. And then you see I have teacher's last name and grade set up. So maybe I write Smith Pre-K, or you don't have to write Pre-K because it is in the Pre-K folder. So once I have that, okay, I can then copy this again and do my next Pre-K teacher. I hit that rename. I can delete that copy off of part if I don't want that there. Delete out Smith and write White. Perfect. So one more time, let's take a look. I am right clicking on one of my current rosters, making a copy. I am then right clicking again, hitting rename, deleting off that copy of, and writing Brown. So let's take a look at what this roster looks like now. So if I open up this one for Brown, and you can see if you're wondering what it says, you can just hover over and it tells you what it actually says, like the name of that file. Double click. I'm going to open it with Google Sheets. Okay, and this is what it looks like. So the first thing that I would want to do is the people that I want to access this form is myself, and I already have automatic access from it being in my Google Drive. So I would hit that share button. It's already shared with me, so I can help you, or Olivia can help you if you have any issues with your roster. And then you're going to want to add in the name of the teacher. So if this was Brown, whatever that teacher's name, you just type in that teacher's email, hit done, and then this roster is now shared with that teacher. So what that means is that this roster will actually pop up in that teacher's Google Drive. So she will only see her own roster, which is great, but you will see all of the rosters that you have set up. So as the food service person, you can go into each individual roster and then look at what each student wants for the day. So let's take a look at how this works. So for the teacher, you would just ask the teacher to fill in the details at the top. So Brown, she would type in her school, she would type in her grade, her room number. The week is already automatically filled in. She can write any comments that she has for you here, and then she can fill in her students. Let's say James Smith, Jill White, Brown. Okay, so whoever her students are, she fills all of them in. As the food service director, you can fill in the pins for these students when she lists out the students in her class. Okay. And then basically, as the teacher, she would fill in for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So you can see that this roster is broken out for the week, what that student in her class wants. And there's a little key at the top that that teacher would use. So we can see that featured entree is abbreviated as FEA, sandwich or salad, SOS, craveable, CRA, cereal, CER. So if you are offering something different, if let's say you are not offering the sandwich or salad, all you would do is just delete that off the top. So if I click there, I can delete off sandwich and salad because I am not offering that as a menu option. And I mean, this would all be assuming that each teacher has a copy of the physical menu that they can look at as well, so they know what the featured entree is. That would hopefully be hanging in their classroom, which is the normal system, or it's posted on Nutri-Slice and the teacher could see it there. So this is really just a roster. Okay, so then we have that. So now that teacher would go in and fill in what that student wants, what kind of milk that student wants. And then for that day, once that lunch is received and handed to the student in the afternoon, she just puts an X there. And then that student is done for the day. Then for Jill, what did Jill get? Jill got a craveable. So part 1 and 2, the entree and the milk would be filled out first thing in the morning by the teacher with white milk. And then as soon as those meals are dropped off, she hands that physical meal to Jill. She checks off that it was received. So basically, as the food service person, you can jump into the spreadsheet. You can see what entree each of these students wanted. You can also see that the meal was received, which this can be printed during like an admin review process so that we have a full and completed roster. So neat thing about this for the teacher, I have the field set up to automatically fill in for some of the important details. So you can see from what we had filled out initially on the first tab, when we go to the second week of school, all the items at the top are automatically filled in, and the students' names carry over from the previous week, as well as the PIN numbers. So once the teacher kind of sets this up in week 1, a lot of the details are filled out for her already automatically for the rest of the school year. If she were to add a new student, that student, and let's say that student joined sometime in November, after she adds that student the first week that they are present in the classroom, that student will carry through for the rest of the school year. So it seems like a little bit of work, but it's actually not too much once you get it set up per teacher. So that is basically the way that works, and you have all your tabs at the bottom for the rest of the school year, so it is totally set up for you. And at any point, you as the food service director can look back at different weeks. The teacher can look back at different weeks. Like the entire school year for each individual teacher is set up on one digital roster. So if we close out of this now, hit that back button. And so we've got our rosters here. So you would just need to set this up for each of your individual schools. Maybe keep your roster template version right here. And that's pretty much how the roster system would work. So not entirely complicated. If you needed any help, Olivia and I could help you set up the individual folders, folders for grades, and just help you stay super organized with this, which would be the point. And actually, I want to take a look at one more thing at the bottom of the roster that I did not show you. So this is opening up for us. And at the very bottom of this roster, for each week, I have a little section for cafeteria use only, and it runs from Monday to Friday. And you can just plug in the total for each of your different entree options. So if let's say you had 4 features, 5 salads and sandwiches, salad or sandwiches, 7 cravables, 2 cereals, you can fill that in right there, and it gives you a week total at the end. So little thing for cafeteria use only right there. All right, so that is the end of video 4. And again, Olivia and I, this will all be shared with us. We will be a great resource. If you have any issues, you can also share these with your IT department if you want them there to also be able to help you out as well. So I hope this didn't seem too overwhelming. I think you've got a couple nice options here. And if you need any help figuring out which option is best for your district, best for your operation, you can definitely give me a call to discuss it and we will figure it out together. These videos can also be shared with your IT person, any of your administration, and they can kind of see how this all works as well, even the teachers. Hey there, and welcome to my last video on mobile ordering, Nutri-Serve's Cafe to Class ordering system. So what you are looking at here is a request form. So if you would like to set up a mobile ordering system in your account based on these videos that you have seen and you feel that there's an option here that would work well for you, here's how you can request that one of these forms get set up. So this is actually a link to this form is going to be right on the digital agenda for the summer meeting. So you can access it right there and then fill it out for us to see that you would like a form set up. So first thing we're looking at here are our different options. So we had a video on each option here. So hopefully you kind of figured out what might work for you. I also have links to samples of each option. So you can click on that link to view it again yourself and see if it kind of has the data that you might need. There is an area for comments on this form where if you feel like you need to collect some other form of data, you can plug that into comments and we can add that in as a question for you. So scrolling down here, make sure you just read through this. I also will have the link to the entire training video so that you can watch it a second time or right from this form if you want to review some of your options. I am also giving you the option if you want to customize it yourself or you want us to just set up the entire thing for you. So even if you want to customize it yourself, we'll still need to share the template with you. So I still need to collect some data to actually share that template with you. So whatever approach you're going to take, you want us to do it or you want to do it yourself, the first thing you're going to have to fill in is your name at the top. I'm going to need your district name or code. I'm going to need your phone number and your school email. What I want to do here is if I want to see if it's Google-based or not Google-based, because some of the systems will work if it is not Google-based, and the roster system, it needs to actually be Google-based. So if it is not if your school email is not Google-based and you clicked roster system, I'm going to have to call you and we're going to have to talk that one out. So first, you'll fill in that school email, then you'll select what order system that you're actually going to go with. So option 1, 2, or 3. And again, those match the videos that you would have watched ahead of time. And then after you pick your option that you want to go with, you are going to pick if you want us to set the form up for you, or if you feel comfortable setting up the template on your own. And we are actually going to have some extra support for setting up these templates with Jared Mayer. So there's going to be 3 of us doing it, which is why I feel comfortable offering this option that will actually set it up for you. So we can fill in a sample one here to see how this looks. And this would be your school district email. Let's say I'm going to go with the first option for ordering, and I want the form set up for me. So once you click that, you're going to see that you get a whole nother array of questions because we're going to need to collect all of this data to actually create that template for you. So here I want you to plug in your paid lunches. So you can see that I gave you an example of the data that I would need in order to create this form for you. So if you could type just like elementary regular lunch and the price, middle school regular, high school regular, etc. Free and reduced are always the same, so don't worry about that for lunch prices. I want to know what your lunch options are going to be. So on the template, I had that there was a featured entree, sandwich or salad, craveable, or cereal bar meal. If you are doing something different, please type in what your options will be here. I want you to check off the milks that you are going to offer. I also want you to write in any snacks that you plan on offering. And if you are not going to offer any snacks, just write no snacks. If you are offering snacks, I'm going to want to know how much each snack is. So make sure you type in the prices of your snacks for me there. I would also want to know if there is a time that you want orders in by. Well, you can indicate this for you on your Google Forms. So for example, if you want students to place their orders by 9 a.m., teachers to get their lunch counts in by 9 a.m., we can write that right on the Google form for you. Then I want you to type in all of the school names of the schools in your district, and please separate them by comma so you know that they're all different. And please include whether they are an elementary school, middle school, or high school. I want you to write in what grade levels your district goes to. So if your district is K to 8, you can write that. If it's K to 12, you can write that. So this is the grade levels for your entire district. And then I want you to fill out your teachers per grade. So, and for options 1 and 2, it really doesn't matter if they teach at different schools. Like for example, you have 3rd grade in 3 of your elementary schools. I just need you to write 3rd grade and then all the teachers that teach 3rd grade in the district. That works for option 1 or 2. If you are going with the digital roster, we're going to set this up so it's like super organized with folders per school, then per grade. So it's just easy to access all the different rosters. So in this case, I want you to write the school and then the grade levels in that school, and only write the teachers that teach in the grade levels in that specific school, just so we can set it up super organized for you. So that's only if you're going for the digital roster system. And I do give you an example of how you can kind of write this out for me so it makes sense with commas. And then the last part here is just where you can type in any other comments or questions that you have regarding filling this out. Hit submit when you're done, and then we have your request and we'll start working on it. Any questions, you can email or call us, but this is the way that we would like to go about it. So thank you for watching my video, and I hope that mobile ordering and these different options, you can find one that will work for your operation. And if you have any questions, you can definitely talk it through with me, and I can give you some ideas of operationally how I think that we could make it work for you. So thank you for your time and tuning into the mobile ordering presentation.